Hey, guess what's happening on this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with your friend and host, Oscar Camejo.
So let me get this out the way right away. This is going to be the most important topic I've ever talked about on this podcast. And to be honest, one of the most important topics I talk to people about, period. Above fitness, above everything else, I love talking about nutrition and helping people live a healthy lifestyle when it comes to their nutrition and the foods we eat and the things we put in our bodies. So you definitely want to stick around to hear all of this episode, and you may want to go ahead and share it with some folks. They're going to love it too. Now, what I'm about to share with you literally changed my life and how I look at food and how I approach the things that I decide to put in my body. I want to help folks live long and prevent disease. I want them to lose weight. I want people to regain their vitality and energy. I was able to do that because I made a decision to educate myself when it comes to health and nutrition. Nutrition is something that I love to talk about, from cooking to vitamins and really all the things, again, that we put in our bodies and the things that we do to our bodies. Listen, there's a big problem, folks. And I know many of you listening who follow me are struggling, or maybe you know someone who's struggling, not just with type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes, but maybe high blood pressure. You have hypertension, high cholesterol, and you're just really concerned about your health. You may be concerned about your weight and how much weight you've gained over the years. And you step on the scale and you're like, whoa, what happened? You're concerned about your blood sugar levels if you're pre-diabetic or have full-blown type 2 diabetes. I know I've been there. You're probably thinking about cutting calories and cutting carbs, and you see all these different ads and you hear from your doctor or different people that, hey, you need to lose weight. You may want to start with cutting calories and cutting carbs, but you may not know where to start or even how to start. You could be struggling with food cravings. Hey, trust me, I've been there. You may be struggling to kick a sugar addiction. Been there, done that. And, it feels like it's time to go ahead and make a change. Not only do you have that feeling, but you have that urging to say, you know what, now is the time, not just because it's a new year, but now is the time for me to make a lifestyle change. I'm there with you. I'm here to support you. So let's be honest. There's certain food manufacturers who don't make it easy for us to lose weight and meet our weight goals and our health goals. A lot of companies are not into helping us to live a healthy lifestyle. They're thinking about their bottom line. They're thinking about making profits, a lot of them. And you have others that really are, concerned about health and nutrition of their clients. But at the end of the day, we have to make better and healthier choices when it comes to our food. You see, certain product manufacturers are contributing to the health problems that many people experience. You got high sugary foods, high salty and high sodium foods that's leading to high cholesterol and high blood pressure. You have foods that are negatively impacting our gut health and our immune system, foods that even contribute to weight gain and so much other things, even memory loss and brain fog. You'd be surprised as to the fact that there are foods that are really making it difficult for you to think while you're at work. You may be working on a big project and you're forgetting certain things, or maybe something as simple as leaving your keys in a place that you can't even remember where you left them. Man, where did I leave my keys? Where did I leave my phone? And you're experiencing brain fog. Listen, I'm not a physician, but I have come across a lot of research and have talked to people who, they're dealing with cognitive issues, again, memory loss, and just being able to think correctly and think straight, dealing with a lot of stress and so forth. So, in this episode, we're going to talk about all kinds of things that as it relates to food and our food choices. I'm going to talk about the history behind nutritional food labels and some recent changes and why. I'm going to talk about how to know what's in foods and the things that we drink that we normally choose in our everyday lives, and how to make better choices. You see, now I understand automatically people start thinking, or at least some people may start thinking to say, hey, you know what? Do we really have to pay attention to food labels? And I just think that's going overboard. Some people may think, they may even think that, hey, you know what? I'm going to just enjoy my life. I'm not going to restrict what I eat. I just want to eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and just enjoy myself. I don't want to get on this health kick and eat quote unquote rabbit food and deprive myself of good food and the foods that I like. Listen, folks, I'm not trying to deprive you of eating what you want. I am trying to help educate you because, there's a biblical saying that my people perish for a lack of knowledge. So it's time to increase our knowledge, folks, because the quality of ingredients, the quality of the foods that we put in our bodies makes a big difference. So you're going to receive some practical tips for making better and healthier food choices. You're going to discover the benefits of cooking your own food versus eating packaged food all the time, and even some of those fast foods that we pick up sometimes through the drive-thru. So stick around to hear the rest of today's episode. My friend, you definitely don't want to miss this one. Welcome to this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with me, your host, Oscar Camejo. My goal is to help diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. Folks, listen, there are people who are not even diabetics that follow this podcast and they follow the things that I share online. And I am so appreciative of my followers and people who send in their comments and send in questions and so forth. So before we dive into this week's episode, which is titled The Facts About Nutrition Labels, Advice for Making Healthier Food Choices, I want to share with you a comment that came from a Natasha. She's one of my TikTok followers. I get a lot of questions from my TikTok folks. I appreciate folks like Natasha and others who follow and they ask questions, they comment. It means a lot to me. So here's a great question from Natasha. She asks, and this was in response to a video that I posted about my health and the things that I do on a regular basis and the things that I did to reverse type 2 diabetes. She asks, how do you feel today? Do you still have to be as strict as you were when you first had diabetes? That's a great question because it covers a few important perceptions that many people have. Some people feel that eating healthy requires being very, very strict and eating foods that you may or may not even like. People talk about, as a diabetic, maybe I have to stay away from this type of food and this type of or that type of food. Yeah, there are certain restrictions that you want to have. But overall, Natasha and anyone else who may have this same question, for me, no, I don't have a strict diet. There's just certain things I have decided to eliminate from my lifestyle. So, for example, I stopped drinking soda because I realized the content of soda just really contributed to my personal weight gain. There are certain things that I cut out, like foods that are heavy in salt, because, I was dealing with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and so forth. So I am not strict. I just actually live a healthier lifestyle. I better understand foods and I make better choices. Now, on occasion, will I have certain things, let's say like rice? Yeah, I'll have rice. I just don't eat rice every day like I used to. Fried foods, I pretty much completely cut fried foods out of my diet. It's not a regular part of my diet and my eating lifestyle. No, I choose now to have and follow a Mediterranean style diet where it's low carbs, where it's healthy fats, lots of fruits and vegetables and so forth. So, thank you, Natasha, for that question. And I'm always going to be talking about food and how I eat and how I was able to lose over 80 pounds, folks. Yes, I used to be 268 pounds, struggling with type 2 diabetes on all kinds of medications, not just for diabetes such as metformin and insulin. I was also dealing with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and just some other things, acid reflux. Oh my gosh, I was taking a pill for almost everything. And I am happy to say, and I'm grateful to God that I was able to turn my life around and make better choices. And that's where it started, with making better choices. So now let's get into the rest of today's episode. When it comes to marketing and food packaging, I want you to keep something in mind. Don't judge a food by its packaging. Don't look at what's on the front of a package, a bottle, or even a candy bar, a bag of chips, and make your decision based on what's on the front. That's all marketing. It's all designed by these companies to get you to buy the package. Be mindful of certain health claims that's on the front. Trust me. I'm into marketing. I have a marketing and communications background. That's literally what I do every day. So how something is packaged is designed to grab your attention. The color of a package is all by design. Everything is all by design on the front of the package to attract your attention. So it's just like a bee that goes to a specific flower, is trying to get to the nectar and so forth. So the packaging is all designed to grab your attention. So don't get caught up with all the food claims and health claims that are on the front. I'm not saying that it's all a lie, but on many packages, yes. Sometimes these companies take a lot of liberty and they make some certain claims to really get you to buy their product. That's the whole design. So here's my sugar story. I used to drink a bottle of Pepsi at least once or twice a day, sometimes even more than that. And I did that when I was unconscious about health. And this one bottle of Pepsi had so much sugar in it. I mean, it was a bunch of sugar in it and it had calories, but it was a bunch of empty calories. Calories aren't bad, folks. It's the type of calories that we put in our bodies that makes a difference. And no wonder why when I was overweight and struggling, I had more and more health problems. Now, am I saying Pepsi was the single most contributing factor to what was going on with me and my weight and my health? No, but it made a big difference. So the Pepsi that I used to drink, in that one bottle, there was 250 calories per serving. And I'll get into understanding what calorie reading is all about, nutrition facts, labels, and so forth in a second. But it was 250 calories in that one bottle of soda. And when you look at the number of sugars, it was like 69 grams of sugar. That's a lot of sugar. So when it comes to the recommended daily value, and I'm going to get into that in a little bit, this one bottle of Pepsi exceeded what's recommended by 138%. That's a lot. I'm throwing numbers out there. So you can imagine if you're trying to lose weight, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to drink a 20-ounce can of soda. And you're like, okay, I need to burn off these calories. So, and I'm just throwing this out there. Do you know that a 20-ounce can of a certain soda that you would drink, if you were to walk it off, you would have to walk 4.5 miles on average to just burn off the calories from that one drink? That's staggering. That means, you would have to walk 4.5 miles, basically 4.5 miles, just to burn off the calories from that one can of soda. Now imagine, like me back in the day, I would have more than one bottle of soda. And my drink that I used to have was more than 20 ounces. That was crazy. That was loco. So imagine if you have 2 cans of soda, 2 bottles of soda, plus a donut or a bag of chips, and the calories just keep adding up. And you're talking about burning the calories. How are you going to burn those calories, my friend? So that's a soapbox of mine. I can deal with that all day. So let's move on. One day I was at Costco and I was picking up some fruit and some vegetables and some other groceries. And by this time, I think, I was definitely into working out. And I was making a serious commitment at this period of my life. This is roughly around 2021, somewhere 2021. By this time, I was like 200 and maybe 40 pounds by this time, 235, 240 pounds, roughly. And I was, starting to go to the gym, and I was wanting to eat healthy or healthier and make lifestyle changes. So I ran into this guy at Costco. I saw him from a distance. It was an older gentleman. He looked to be in his like mid to late 50s. When I say older, he was older than me. I'm 49. I was what, 47 at the time, and 48, 47 at the time. And I saw this guy, and physically he looked great. I mean, he was chiseled. He was probably like 5'5", but the guy looked physically fit. So I walked up to him. I was like, "Hey, sir, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to, come at you in any kind of awkward way. But I see that you look great and you're physically fit. Tell me about your workout routine." And he was like, "You know what, sir, it's really not about my workout routine. It's about what I put in my body, specifically sugar." He talked about cutting sugar from his diet. And I was like, "Okay, nah, you didn't get looking like this just because you stopped eating sugar. Come on, it has to be more than that." And he schooled me for about 25 minutes on the impact of sugar on weight gain and inflammation in the body. And I was like, okay, this is foreign to me. This is new to me. So he pulled up some information on his phone, and we started looking at some packages, if I'm not mistaken, right there at Costco. And he turned to the back of one of these packages and showed me the food nutrition, the nutritional facts panel on the back. And as he was talking, it was like my eyes, a light bulb just went off in my head. And so he was breaking all of this information down about, added sugar versus total sugars and artificial sweeteners and so forth. And then he sent me some information for me to follow up on. And, that one encounter with the guy at Costco changed my life. I look at food differently, and it's not just about sugar. It's about how much salt and sodium we're putting in our foods and getting from a lot of these foods. So it was just life-changing to me because literally, folks, I am where I am today because, yes, I started taking my health seriously enough to start making changes. So why is paying attention to nutritional facts labels really that important? I mean, why do we have to really get into it? Why can't we just enjoy the foods, enjoy the taste, and so forth, and keep it moving? Folks, there's a lot of people who are struggling with disease. They're struggling with health conditions that originated with our diet and the things we put in our bodies, or the things we fail to put in our bodies, or we don't get enough of, not getting enough, nutrients in our bodies. And I'm not talking about, getting a multivitamin and that's it. That was me. I thought, okay, just back in the day, I'll take a multivitamin and that's it. But I didn't change my eating habits. I didn't change what I was putting in my body. I thought the vitamins would just cover me. So on the back of food products, drinks, actual foods, there is a thing called nutritional facts label. These labels are required on most packages of food in many countries. They show what nutrients and other ingredients are in the food. This label is also known as a nutritional facts panel. Now, if you have a package of whatever it is, and it doesn't have a nutritional facts panel, throw it away, get rid of it. You don't know what's in that food. So don't put stuff in your body that you don't know what's included in that item. So these facts panel, the nutritional facts panel, these labels, they show you what nutrients to limit and which ones to get enough of. According to the World Health Organization, a nutrient is basically a substance required by the body for survival. growth, and reproduction. In other words, nutrients are what gives us energy and allows our bodies to perform their essential functions. Nutrients include macronutrients and micronutrients. Your macronutrients are your proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and water. Your micronutrients are your vitamins and minerals. So all this is going to start making sense. So labels are usually based on the official nutritional rating systems. They were first introduced here in the US in 1994, and they were last updated in 2016. In places like the UK, for example, they were first introduced in 1996. So that's a little bit of history I wanted to share with you guys. Now, what does all this mean? Okay, Oscar, this topic is interesting, but, what's the big deal? Okay, so before you continue the rest of this podcast, I want you to hit pause. I want you to go find a canned good, pick up a package of food in your cupboard. It could be a package of cookies, a bag of chips, or even a soft drink. And I want you to follow along with the rest of this podcast because this is going to make sense. But you have to have something in front of you as an illustration, right? And it could be a can of soup. Just go ahead and find it and hit pause. Well, hit pause, go find it and come back. Okay, now that you're back, thank you for following along. Now, I want you to ignore the front of the packaging. Remember, that's all about marketing to get you to buy the product. So you bought the product for whatever reason. It's in your possession right now. Again, don't be fooled by the health claims on the front. Look at the back panel. So flip it over. You should see a panel that says nutrition facts, or it may say nutrition panel or whatnot. Just make sure you look at that. So for my purposes here for this podcast, I'm looking at a sample label for mac and cheese. That mac and cheese that everybody loves, or most people love. We're going to look at some things and we're going to break this down for you. So there's certain sections of the nutritional facts labels that are helpful for you, where it's all helpful, but they're broken down. So I want you to first start, number one, right underneath the nutrition facts, you'll see an area that's talking about serving size and servings per container. So for this particular item, this mac and cheese package, the serving size is 1 cup. So a serving size is basically what a person would typically eat when they sit down to eat. So the typical person will eat 1 cup of this mac and cheese, but sometimes people eat more than that. Next, on this particular item, it says the number of servings or servings per container or package is 2. So that means everything that you read from here on, you have to double it, right? Because in this package, the servings or the amount of food that people would typically eat is doubled. So remember, before I said that a serving size is 1 cup. This container of mac and cheese has 2 servings, right? So that means you have to double it. So that's the equivalent of eating 2 cups of mac and cheese. And 1 cup is 228 grams of food. So multiply that times 2. That's the amount of grams for that food. Okay, next area is the amount per servings of your calories. So per serving, right, is 250 calories. That's 1 serving. Now, if I eat the whole package, that's 500 calories. Okay, so pay attention to that. Now, the next area is you may see total fat, cholesterol, your sodium, then you're going to see carbohydrates, your dietary fiber, your sugars, and proteins. Now, this section is the area of nutrients that you want to make sure you limit. There are certain ones that you want to limit in this area. Limit the amount of fat, limit the amount of cholesterol, limit the amount of sodium, limit the amount of carbs. Now, if it comes to fiber, you definitely want to pay attention to fiber. That is a nutrient that you definitely want to get more of, get enough of that, because that's going to help with your digestion. But then under carbohydrates, you also see sugars. You probably may see added sugars or additional sugars. You want to limit the amount of sugars that are in that you put in your body. So this is an area that you want to pay attention to. Now, the next area you're going to see, it has a list of vitamins in that product, whether it's vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, iron, potassium, and so forth. That's another area that you want to get enough of those nutrients on a regular basis. Now, when you look at everything else from there, you're probably going to see a section that talks about the percent daily values, which are based on a 2,000 calorie diet. So when it comes to daily values, the recommendation is that the average person gets roughly 2,000 calories per day from food, right? So again, that will change. It can go higher or lower based on your calorie needs. So don't just say, okay, for everybody, it's blanket that you have to have 2,000 calories. No, you may be working on something. You may have some health things that you're working on, and you may want to go less or you may want to go higher. So it depends on your personal needs. So check with your physician, your dietitian, or your nutritionist to work on a plan that works for you. Now, there's other sections that talk about, there may be some footnotes that you want to pay attention to, but here's another area that I want you to pay attention to. And I mentioned it earlier. It was about the percent daily value. Now, the percent daily value is the recommended value that, or percent of a specific nutrient that you should have or limit yourself to. So here's a quick guide to daily value percentage. 5% or less is low, 20% or more is high. So let's take this mac and cheese package. Per serving is 470 milligrams. That's 20% of the recommended daily value. So that's 20%. So again, if the quick guide says don't go get more than 20%, that's not just 20% of this particular item. That's total amount of sodium you should have in your body for one day, regardless of what you eat. If you already are at 20% with one serving, you definitely don't want to eat the whole package, because then that means you're multiplying the sodium in this package by 2. That's 470 milligrams times 2. So that means you're going to end up having 40% of what is recommended in your daily value. Does that make sense? So look at your package. Whatever that item is, what does it say under sodium? What does it say under sugars? What does it say under cholesterol? Look at that percentage. If that percentage is 5% or less, okay, good, depending on what it is. If it's more than 20%, that's high. So if you're at the grocery store and you're trying to decide between one can of soup versus another can of soup, one package of mac and cheese versus another, choose the product that has less in the daily value than the other. Plain and simple. Again, let's go back to my example of Pepsi. Looking at the Pepsi label, it had 69 grams of total sugars. That's 138%. So, whoa, that's already blowing it out the water. So if I still wanted to drink soda, I would have to find, and should find, a drink that has way less sugars than that bottle of Pepsi. Get no more than the required daily value. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind no matter what you're choosing. Again, could be a bag of chips or a bag of cookies. It could be a box of cereal that you give your kids. It could be some oatmeal that you're buying. I mean, literally, you can go up and down the aisle and make it a field trip. Go up and down the aisles and choose some products. Matter of fact, look in your cupboard, get 2 items and decide from there. So in any case, another area of that food panels that you want to pay attention to is the ingredients. Now, that's one area that a lot of people don't pay attention to, right? They may look at the number of calories and just say, okay, well, this doesn't have that many calories and that's it. I'm just going to go ahead and get this because there's not as many calories. But you have to look at more than just that. You have to look at what is made up. What is this product actually made up of? The front label or the front packaging may say low sodium or keto friendly or paleo friendly or I don't know, sugar free, all kind of things that they put on the front. But now that you're learning how to read the package, you can not only look at total sugars, you can look at total fat. If something says it's fat free or low fat, well, you want to know exactly what it is. But also when you start paying attention to the ingredients, you start looking at, okay, well, normally when you're reading ingredients, the things that are listed first, pay attention to the first 3 or 5 items. Reading the ingredients list, ingredients are listed in descending order by weight. You won't see a percentage or proportions. That makes it tough to really understand the amount of each ingredient, right? The list has to be complete. Pay attention to what's going on. But as a general rule, the first ingredient is the most important on the list. Still, it's worth scanning at least 3 or more of the first ingredients so that you can pay attention to what's in it. Look for healthy whole foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, legumes, and so forth. And you know what? To be honest, and I don't have enough time to go in it in this podcast. Maybe I'll do it in another podcast or even on my website as an article. But there are certain things that manufacturers do to hide certain ingredients. Like, for example, if you're concerned about sugars, the front of the label may say low sugar, but the type of sugar they use could be very unhealthy to the body. Just because something says, oh, natural flavors, that's another way of saying artificial flavors. It may say natural, but it could be an extract from a fruit and it's still impacting your blood sugar and raising your blood sugar without you even realizing it. So there's a lot to learn about sugars. For example, if you're type 2 diabetic or you have pre-diabetes and you're really concerned about how much sugar, I really recommend that you pay attention to your sugar intake and just learn to read these labels. Make it an exercise. For example, remember I talked about if you consume a 2,000 calorie diet per day and you're concerned about the number of sugar that you should have. Well, did you know that the recommended total amount of grams of sugar that you should have, any person should have, is 50 grams of sugar? So if you have more than that, more than 50 grams, you're already exceeding what's recommended that you get no more of. So back to my example of the Pepsi, that was 69 grams of sugar. So already I was exceeding the total daily recommended grams of sugar. Look at your package that you have in front of you, the package of cookies or whatever it is you picked up. What does it say? Looking back at the mac and cheese package that I pulled out, it says that the total sugars is 5 grams. That doesn't seem like a lot. Okay, so 5 grams is not 50, so I'm good. But now throughout my day, sugars start adding up. So those are things that you definitely want to pay attention to. So now let's move on. It's important to discover the benefits of cooking your own food versus just always eating packaged or canned foods. One thing that I've been doing a lot lately is, especially during the cold days and cold nights, is making my own soup. I love to cook anyway. I cook almost pretty much every day, at least dinner. And for me, the benefits have been tremendous to my weight loss. I know what I'm putting in my body. I'm not just getting a can of vegetables that could be high in sodium and other things high in sugars because, it's convenient. And that's the other thing too. In our fast-paced society, we're always looking for convenience. So you want to pay attention to your foods. So I started making soups at home because, again, I can control the amount of sodium that goes into my soup. I can control the amount of sugar that may be coming from a certain item. And I just feel a lot better. I mean, my moods have been a lot better. My digestion has been a lot better. And it's fun making my own homemade soups and so forth. So the next time you go to the store and you look at buying some soup, think twice before buying the canned soups, right? Or the packaged soups. Think about, okay, what's all included in this? It could be carrots, some celery, some onions. You may throw some beans in there. You may even throw some, a ground beef or however you make your soups, right? I made some lentil soup. It was so good the other day. I've never had lentil soup before, but I love how I made it. And I found the recipe and bam, it was great. I made enough for dinner and lunch for the next day. And some folks who heard about it wanted some too. So they were able to enjoy it as well. And it was healthier. So I didn't have to be concerned about what was in my soup because I made it. I knew what was in it. It's the same thing with making vegetables. You can buy those prepackaged veggies that are in the frozen food aisle and, call it a day, and you just open up the packet, turn on the skillet or put it in the microwave and call it a day. And that may be a start, but again, pay attention to the packaging label, right? Not the front of the package, but the outside, because a lot of times they do flavor some of those vegetables with sugar, with artificial sweeteners for the taste. Because let's be honest, manufacturers want you to enjoy the taste. So a lot of times they use sugar, and sugar appears in all kinds of stuff that have no business having sugar in it, but they put it in there. They sprinkle it in there for the taste. Back to pre-made cans of soup. Yeah, they may be quicker and convenient to eat than cooking up soups from the scratch. Yeah, but you need to consider the benefits versus the reward and the rewards of cooking your own food. Again, when it comes to salt, sugar, and preservatives, they're sometimes added to these canned products in the canning process because, again, it's all for taste. And they're playing off of the fact that people want things that are more convenient. Some canned foods are high in sodium. I need to reemphasize that. They're high in salt, they're high in sodium, and it's contributing to, heart disease and high cholesterol, high blood pressure. So just pay attention to that, okay, folks? I've already talked about the added sugars, the artificial sweeteners, and you know what? Having an excess of sugar has been associated with an increased risk of many diseases, including obesity, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and other issues and health complications. It's important to really have a variety. Now, if you want to say, okay, I want to eat a canned food one day, but cook the rest of the week, okay, you can vary it based on your nutritional needs and your lifestyle. I get it. A lot of people are busy and you're on the go, and sometimes it's easier just to crack open a can. I just want you to rethink that. Now, as I wrap up, I want you to pay attention also to fiber. I mentioned fiber earlier. I mentioned about vitamins and, other micronutrients. But here's something to keep in mind, folks. Dietary fiber, vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium are nutrients that are on the labels of these foods. And you want to pay attention to how much of these good nutrients and minerals and vitamins that are in these foods so that you can get more than enough of that. They are identified as nutrients to get more of. Again, that's your fiber, your vitamin D, your calcium, your iron, and potassium, and so forth. And eating a diet that is high in dietary fiber can increase the frequency of your bowel movements. Being able to go to the bathroom on a daily basis, not just once, maybe twice a day, is going to help you with, having a regular to ensure that, having regular bowel movements is essential to health. Constipation is not something that should be a part of something that you just accept. Chronic constipation is not good, folks. It's just not. Our goal is not only to have good digestive and good gut health, but to also lower our blood glucose, whether you are type 2 diabetic, pre-diabetic, or not. You want to lower your cholesterol levels, lower your calorie intake, and increase the good nutrients, the good micronutrients and macronutrients, because, your body needs the nutrients to survive and to be strong and to have energy. Diets higher in vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium can reduce the risk of developing things like osteoporosis, anemia, and high blood pressure. I can go on and on with this. So I know I'm throwing a lot at you today, but here are my recommendations. Again, don't just focus on the amount of calories that you're trying to restrict yourself to. Some people may say, well, calories is calories. It's as long as, I just stay within a certain range, I'm good. It doesn't matter what I eat, just as long as I cut my calories and limit myself. Well, when it comes to your car, there is good gas and not so good gas. There's the regular, there's the unleaded, there's the mid-grade, and the premium. Certain cars are, it's required that you only put premium fuel in the car. If you put the wrong type of fuel in your car, you can mess up your engine, right? So the fuel does matter. Or let's say oil. Oil is essential to any running engine. Without the oil, or if you put the improper oil or not enough, or if you put too much of a certain oil, you could damage your engine. Wouldn't it be the same with our bodies? The type of calories does matter, folks. You can't tell me that if the recommended daily calorie intake for the average person is 2,000, that as long as you get 2,000 calories, you're good to go. It doesn't matter what it is. You can't tell me that makes sense. So I can eat a whole bunch of cookies, or let that be the only thing that I eat all day, as long as I get my 2,000 calories. Or let's say if I want to calorie restrict and say I want to go down to 1,000 calories. So I'm just going to eat 1,000 calories of cookies and that's it, versus 1,000 calories of vegetables and fruit. Which is healthier? To me, it makes sense to eat more vegetables and fruit and not eat 1,000 calories of cookies because I'm trying to lose weight. Do you know what kind of impact that is going to do to your pancreas and eventually your liver, your blood vessels? Come on, folks. It's a no-brainer. So again, recommendation is don't just focus on the amount of calories. Look at the quality of the calories. I also want you to reduce your sugar intake, reduce your salt and sodium intake, reduce your unhealthy fat intake. Choose healthy fats instead, like avocados, mixed nuts, olive oil, avocado oil, and so forth when you're cooking. Reduce your cholesterol intake. I want you to start minimizing your starchy and refined carbohydrates, your rice and potatoes, breads, and your pasta. Now, this is, again, if you're trying to lose weight. Some people who are trying to bulk up and become these bodybuilders, they load up on carbs, that's them. But we're talking about the folks who are trying to reverse type 2 diabetes by losing weight and making healthier nutrition choices. Minimize your starchy and refined carbs. Eat more leafy greens, like your spinach, your kale, your Swiss chard, and so forth. Those are going to be a lot better for you, okay? Increase your drinking water. Drink more water with every meal. Get rid of those sodas and fruit juices and all this other stuff, man. It's just not good for you folks. I used to have sweet tea or lemonade almost every morning with my breakfast that I used to get at this particular restaurant. I used to have a bacon, egg, and cheese croissants or biscuit or bagel every morning. Oh my gosh, you're talking about cholesterol, carbs, and empty carbs plus sweet tea. Sometimes sweet tea mixed with lemonade. It was crazy. So in any case, increase your water, folks. Get rid of the fruit juices, get rid of the sodas, and high sugary drinks. And I want you to start increasing your fiber intake. I talked about fiber. Fiber helps with digestion, helps with bowel movements, helps to move things along. Increase your protein. Proteins are the building blocks of your muscles. That doesn't mean eat protein so you can bulk up. You don't need to bulk up. You can maintain a healthy muscle density by increasing your protein, of course, and doing regular exercise. But we're not talking about exercise today. We're talking strictly about nutrition and the things that we're putting in our bodies. Last but not least, let's talk about eating lots of fruit and veggies, as I mentioned earlier. My recommendation is to get at least 5 servings a day. Now, remember, we were talking about serving sizes before, that a single serving is what a person would normally eat. So let's take fruit, for example. An apple is considered a serving, a whole apple, not half an apple, but one whole apple. That's one serving. So that's one of your servings out of your 5 for that day. Let's say later on you have a banana. Guess what? The whole banana, that's 2 out of your 5 servings. And let's say you have a cup of strawberries or blueberries, as a snack. That's your 3rd serving, right? Then let's say you have a kiwi later on in the day, maybe after you're coming from the gym or whatnot. That's a serving. You may have an orange. You get the picture, right? So 5 servings of, you can do fruit or veggies, the same thing with veggies. In the morning, you may put some spinach in your smoothie, or you may, let's say if you scramble some eggs and you have a cup of spinach, that's at least 1 serving of veggies for that day, 1 out of your 5. So you get the picture. So hopefully all of this made a lot of sense, and you can see why I'm passionate about it, because I can talk all day about this topic and so forth. So folks, my goal again is to help diabetics and non-diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. I did it in my own life, and I am coming from the perspective of someone who made changes and was able to get off medications, was able to lose over 80 pounds. Guys, I am healthier today than I was years ago, even when I was in my 30s, to be honest. I feel alive. I feel strong. I have so much energy and vitality. And I had to change my habits. I had to change my lifestyle. And it started with getting an understanding of food and what I put in my body. So hopefully this was beneficial to you today. I know it was a longer than normal podcast, but I'm pretty sure you can use this information and definitely share it with others. So I created a healthy food shopping guide that I want you to download for free on my website. Go to www.beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com and download it today. There's also a book that I recommend. I've been telling people about it. It's by James Clear. A lot of people struggle with habits and formulating good habits and eliminating bad habits. And so he wrote a book called Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. I can talk to you all day about eating healthy, breaking sugar addictions, and so forth. But if you've developed a habit of making poor choices when it comes to food, it's not going to require, it doesn't require a big and drastic change that's going to take place overnight. Sometimes you have to take tiny steps. And this book by James Clear is a good start. It's a good resource for you to delve into. So I definitely recommend that. So folks, as always, stay focused, keep moving, never go back, leap forward, bounce back because you can, my friend. And above all else, trust God. I believe in you. You got this. Be sure to visit the website at www.beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com for access to free resources and other information that will help you along your journey. If you would like to submit a question or comment about the show or to learn more about the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle, you can always email me at hello@beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast with Oscar Camejo. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for motivational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care by a physician or other healthcare professional or qualified fitness instructor. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you're looking for help on your journey, seek a qualified medical practitioner. It's important that you utilize someone who is a trained, licensed healthcare professional who can help you on your journey toward good health.